and one valid applicant, because we are realizing that Pace Hansen was not actually applying for that seat. So commissioners, I would entertain a motion for the one applicant.
I'll make a motion to approve Albert Spensko.
We have a motion to approve Albert Spensko.
I'll second that.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, Jeannie, would you re-advertise for that remaining vacant position? And then for the next board, we have 8 applicants, and that is for the Recreation Transportation Special Service District. Of those 8 applicants, we have Richard Lee, Pace Hansen, Craig Christensen, John Daniels, Ann Anderson, Jesse McCord, Brent Barker, and David Petty. Commissioners, we are looking at this again because we did not have included amongst our options Pace Hansen, and we had previously passed a motion without acknowledging all the available applicants. So I will now entertain a motion with the 8 potential applicants and any discussion. Again, as has been previously mentioned, we have a lot of interest in this board and a lot of really good applicants. Those who have served on the board have done a good service to the county, and it is, I think, phenomenal with a decreasing budget in mineral lease royalties that we have so much interest in people who can perhaps help us find other ways to continue with these projects going forward. And I'd like the public to be fully aware that a special service district as its own entity may go after other funding besides just receive mineral lease dollars, that they can actually, as their own entity, lobby, or they can also go after and receive grant funding, and they themselves can be an applicant individually and solely, as well as a co-applicant with the county on different projects.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to appoint Brent Barker and David Petty to the Recreation and Transportation Special Service District.
We do have a motion on the table. Do we have a substitute motion, or do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And again, thank you for all of you who have expressed interest. And we really appreciate all the awareness that other people here in the community have helped us with so that we could get eligible applicants to serve on this board.
Christian,
And again, thanks to those who have served on those boards for many years.
And Christian, let me ask one other question, because come January, we'll have 2 commissioners that sit on that Transportation and Recreation Special Service District. So that needs to be programmed into what's next with Larry Jensen coming on.
I think so. I think this body ought to consider that again as soon as the new year comes. I don't know that it's prohibited by any bylaws or anything that you can't have more than one commissioner, but I think there are reasons why you would want to have not more than one commissioner on that board. One of which is you don't want to jeopardize your PILT eligibility, your PILT funding eligibility. Right. So that does need to be looked at again, probably as soon as the new year comes around.
January's calendar.
Yeah, and it probably I probably ought to take a note to make sure that gets on an agenda right at the beginning of the year.
And the appropriate advertising.
Yes.
And with that being mentioned, I've had other people comment to me that in other counties and communities, they've had their participating commissioner change from a voting member to a ex officio for purposes similar to the PILT, as well as other purposes, to remain at arm's length from a separate entity of the county. And so I wonder if, as that board reconvenes and you're considering that, the item of Larry Jensen being a member and Commissioner Hopes, if perhaps the commission as a whole should just take an arm's length approach. So I would suggest that be reviewed as well. All right, now Jumping down on the list to what we've all been waiting for, we have item number 11 on the agenda, which is a public hearing on the 2019 proposed budget. This public hearing will start after we do a short review. I'm going to present just roughly some of the high-level changes, and we can provide the media with a copy of this list for distribution if you would like. But just on a very high level, we'd like to discuss the budget and the process that we went through, and then we'll open up for public hearing, after which, during the public hearing, of course, we can't answer any specific questions, but if we feel it is needed after the public hearing, we can address any specific issues. To begin with, Commissioners, Fund 10, and maybe Seth, if I can incorporate some of your help and assistance with this, would you provide just a brief explanation of what is Fund 10 and what makes up Fund 10 expenditures?
Fund 10 is considered the general fund. It has to do with a lot of the departments, specifically the assessor's office, clerk auditor's office, commissioners, personnel, and a few other offices are considered there, like the ambulance, sheriff's department, and jail. So they're all the general things in the county, and they have to do with funds specifically that aren't restricted funds, whereas some of the other funds like Fund 20 is for includes Class B road. And those funds would be restricted to be used there, whereas Fund 10 is a general fund and can be used, the money there can be used pretty much however the discretion of the commissioners. So.
Very good. Thank you for that brief explanation. In Fund 10, we have decreased expenditures by $40,000. Fund 15, we have decreased expenditures by $84,000. In Fund 19, we have decreased expenditures by $45,000. In Fund 20, we have decreased expenditures by $1,135,000. In Fund 24, we have decreased expenditures by $51,000. And Fund 25 decreased expenditures by $67,000. In Fund 26, we have decreased expenditures by $33,000. In Fund 28, we have increased expenditures, which are for economic development. We have increased expenditures to an additional $45,000, trying to help our community become a more business-friendly place. In Fund 45, we have decreased capital improvement project expenditures by $256,000. In Fund 54, we have increased expenditures by $308,000. That is covered by a grant provided to us to help resurface the airport runway. And so those dollars, we can thank the state and other participants. Commissioner Potter, I don't know if you want to touch on that high level.
It's just a resurfacing of the aprons and areas that it's due. These monies come through the state UDOT Department of Aeronautics.
And then just high level, I would go over a few points to explain some of our efforts and some of the strategies that we've implemented as a commission to help bring our expenses more in line with our revenues. Over the last 4 years, we have been struggling in a way to find out what our revenues really are. And last year, even though we spent more than projected on our expenditures, we still spent more than we brought in because we had over-projected so much on what we expected our revenues to be and came in so much under what we expected our revenues to be. So with all that being said, this year for the 2019 budget, we have a balanced budget with no fund balance being used, meaning we are not pulling money out of savings with regards to what we have projected for our 2019 budget. We are not planning on taking away from our future years or from our rainy day fund for the 2019 budget. Our senior center will be closed or is projected to be closed on Fridays. We have no new equipment purchases except half of an ambulance. And just jumping back to the senior center, we are also combining efforts with the Association of Local Governments and Emery County to share a director across both counties. This will help provide more synergy amongst the two counties in the senior citizen activities, as well as help us with our expenses, keeping things lower. Commissioner Hopes, did you want to mention anything in regards to the senior center?
Nope.
And our road department is projected to fix fewer roads in 2019 than it did in 2018 in an effort to keep costs low.
One thing on the ambulance, you said we had budgeted half an ambulance. Obviously, we can't just have half an ambulance. We're planning on taking those monies and trying to leverage them at the Community Impact Board and see if we can get a grant for the other half.
Thank you for that clarification. And we have various other site improvements that, instead of tackling them and making those improvements as readily possible, we are pushing projects out so that they are being scheduled over a period of time that can be more easily paid for through taxpayer dollars rather than all at once. The other item of interest is that we now require an increase on the employee portion of their health insurance benefits, meaning previously they paid 5% of their health insurance. In 2019, they'll be paying 10% of their health insurance premiums. And those are largely the changes that we had to make amongst other budgeting strategies to bring our expenditures in line with the county revenues, the county guaranteed revenues, which are largely your taxpayer dollars. With that being said, as a high-level overview, we'll go ahead and begin this public hearing on the 2019 budget at 6:16 p.m. Anybody who would like to speak to the budget, please come to the mic, speak your name for the record. And again, this is not a question and answer period, but this is for you to express your thoughts and or concerns. Ryan, I know your daughter wants to be famous and speak about the budget. Seeing nobody approaching the mic, we'll go ahead and close this public hearing at 6:17 p.m. Again, the 2019 budget has been available upon request. It has been available online and upon request at the Clerk Auditor's Office for the past 10 days. It will continue to be available upon request should anyone from the public request it. And they can do so at the clerk's office in person, over the phone. We can email it to you, or we can direct you to where it's available by download on the website. Commissioners, we are now at item number 12 on the agenda. Consideration and possible approval of the 2019 budget. Would you like to have any further discussion before we entertain this item? Or if not, I would entertain a motion.
I think the only thing that needs to be added is that because of the additional revenue we received this year, we were able to make purchase some of our equipment this year. For example, the two sheriff's vehicles, some of the IT equipment. So it doesn't necessarily solve all of our problems, but because of the added revenue for 2018, we were able to not push off our maintenance, but pay for that maintenance or those vehicles. The road chips were bought for next year in this year's budget. So it allows us to be revenue neutral in 2019. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the 2019 budget.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Our 2019 budget has been passed. With that being said, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. We are adjourned. Thank you.